Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone. The presentation right now is about the nature of money and money creation process. Most part of the discussion are taken from chapter 29 of the main Q textbook, Principles of Economics. Some part, especially when talking about money creation and the monetary control, I took some explanation from Cash and Fair textbook. After you understand about the nature and the definition of money, let's now discuss about money creation. That is how money is growing bigger and bigger than its initial amount of the best money. To comprehend this, we need to know the simple T balance sheet in accounting. You know, balance sheet basically consists of assets on the left side and liabilities plus net worth on the right side, which are exactly at the same amount of money. When we're looking at the monetary authorities balance sheet, its net foreign asset and net domestic assets will be put on the left. Best money, the liabilities for the monetary authorities, as well as net worth would be put on the right. Commercial banks' balance sheet will look similar. Assets on the left and liabilities on the right. Okay, let's see now. What will happen when somehow a deposit is made in the economy? Before we proceed, suppose here, for simplicity, that there is no currency in circulation, meaning that people don't hold cash at all. They deposit all their money in their bank account. What happens next? Simple. Once deposit is made, bank's reserve increases at exactly the same amount of the deposit. If initial deposit is $100, then reserve is also $100. You know, reserve here is the deposit received by the commercial banks but have not yet loaned out. What will happen then if the bank makes loans? Suppose, since the central bank as precautionary requires every bank to put a minimum 10% of their deposit in reserve. It's the red small cap letter R in our slide. Can you see? Then the maximum amount of deposit or the excess reserve that can be loaned out by the bank is the remaining 90% of its deposit. Look at the first bank's balance sheet. The deposit is $100. With $100 deposit, then the minimum reserve would be $10 or 10% of the bank's total deposits. If Bank 1 loans out all its excess reserves, loans that will be made is as much as $90. Now look at the second bank's balance sheet. If $90 loans received by borrowers from the first bank are put in Bank 2, then Bank 2 receive $90 deposits. What will happen if the second bank doesn't loan out its deposit? If Bank 2 doesn't make loans, then its deposit would be just exactly the same as its reserve, which are $90. What can we observe from here? You may notice that in this case, just one loan is made, but you know what? Even with one new loans, money supply already increases. Remember, M1 is currency plus deposits. With no currency, money supply is just total amount of deposits. How much is money supply or total deposit? Before the loan is made, it is $100, the amount of deposit in the first bank account. After the loan from Bank 1, it is now $190 deposit in total, or $190 of money supply. $100 is coming from deposit at the first bank, and $90 is coming from deposit at the second bank. See, just one loan is made, but money supply already increases. How about the total reserve? With or without loans, total reserve will be the same. It's still $100, which comes from $10 of Bank 1's reserve plus $90 of Bank 2's reserve. How is it now? If all banks, not only Bank 1 and Bank 2, provide loans as much as the law could allow them to, that is, 90% of their total deposits. Look, Bank 1, as in our previous case, loaned out 90% of its deposit, or $90 out of $100. Bank 2 now also makes loans. Out of $90 of its current deposits, it loans out 90% of it, or as much as $81. Bank 3, who receives the new deposits of $81, also make loans. Out of its $81 deposits, 90% of it, or $72.90, is loans. It continues like this until bank number N. We can easily observe total money or total deposits in all commercial banks are growing. Look at the figure circled red. Of course, it doesn't stop at Bank 3 in reality. New $72.90 loans from Bank 3 could create another deposit, and then another loan, another deposit, another loan, and so on. Therefore, from initial deposits of just $100, now total deposit in the economy is as much as $1,000 using geometric series formula. That is what we call money creation process. How money in our case is multiplied 10 times? The multiplication factor is called the money multiplier. Money multiplier measures how much money or deposit is multiplied from its initial amount. If initial deposit or money is $100 and the final amount of money is $1,000 in the banking system, so money multiplier is simply $1,000 per 100 equals to 10. So 10 is the money multiplier. Since how much loans can be made depends on the reserve requirement ratio, or 10% in our case, the money multiplier actually is 1 per R, or 1 per 10%, which is equal exactly to 10. You may easily guess, if R is bigger, loans that can be made will be smaller, hence lower money multiplier and lower money supply. Likewise, if currency is introduced here, the bigger the tendency of people to hold money, the lower the deposit and the lower of loans that can be made. Thus, both money multiplier and money supply will be lower too. Here, I would like to show you the balance sheet of total commercial banks in the economy. As I explained earlier, when we limit the discussion to just Bank 1 and Bank 2, when loan is made, it will affect total deposits, but not total reserves. Initial deposit are $100. With loans after loans or with money creation process, the money supply, circle red, add up to $1,000, while reserves, circle green, remain $100. This $100 is the total amount of reserve if all banks fulfill the reserve requirement policy at exactly 10% of their total deposits. The rest will be loaned out. Total $900 loans or 90% of total deposit. Okay, do you understand the money creation process now? Relax, there will be more examples to come, especially when we're discussing how money supply can be controlled in the next topic. In this slide, I would just like to talk briefly. First, you may need to know about the more realistic balance sheet of the commercial banks. We know the purple table. It is what we just got before. The blue table, this is what I told you is the more realistic one, despite not yet complete either. On the asset side, there are now commercial bank securities other than just loans and reserves. On the liability side, we add commercial banks' debt and capital. They are, for sure, are all important to understand the so-called capital adequacy ratio or CAR and the leverage ratio. Well, I leave it to you to understand what the CAR and the leverage ratio are because they are just matters of definition. What I want to emphasize first is how commercial banks may actually be more restricted in providing their loans. We know earlier the self-requirement ratio has restricted banks' ability to provide loans, hence limit the creation of money supply. Other than that, bank is actually also required to maintain capital adequacy ratio or CAR at a minimum certain level. When the CAR of certain bank is lower than the minimum level, the bank must either increase their capital or reduce their loans. If the latter is chosen, money supply will be affected since less loans means less deposit in the banking system and less deposit means less money supply. As for the average ratio, it is important to know how higher leverage ratio could increase CAR significantly when there is an increased value of some bank's asset, but could make banks insolvent too when the opposite occurs. That's what I would like you to know. Okay, I stop here. We continue our lesson in the next video. We'll be talking about how to control the money supply. Thank you for your attention. See you soon in the next video. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.